Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking an hour of your day or so to join us today. My name is Giovanna Cruz, and I'm an Education Services Manager at Make Music. And our session today is 8 ways to use Smart Music as a classroom teaching tool. So just to give you a little bit of background, like I said, my name is Giovanna Cruz. I'm one of 2 education services managers here at Make Music. My background is that of a string player. I have a DMA in cello performance from the University of Iowa, and I taught high school orchestra for about 7 years before joining Make Music 4 years ago. My colleague Lee Callistad here is on a plane, and he was able to join us for this session briefly. I don't know if he has the ability to talk right now because there may be a lot of passengers next to him.
Well, am I coming through?
You are.
I don't know. Can you hear me come through at all? Or
Yes.
okay. Well, I'm Lee, and glad to join you. I'll be just listening to Giovanna today, and you might be able to see on screen there that I'm a saxophone for band and choir director, and have been with Make Music since 2003. So I'm looking forward to this session as well. And with that, I'm going to mute myself and sit back and listen.
All right, so in our role as education managers, we really are, one of our main functions is to bring the voice of the customer to the company and provide that feedback. We also create e-learning and YouTube content like this webinar. We do virtual trainings, online, in-person training, and that's why he's on a plane today, headed to Seattle. And we create Finale and Smart Music Clinic materials and go around the country to the music educators conferences. I just wanted to let you all know how to communicate with me today during the session. So if you have a question, the way that we're going to make those known is by using the chat function. So as you can see on the screen, right above where you see my picture, there should be a little chat icon. Click on that, and then you should be able to see a little chat window at the bottom from where you can write messages to me. Okay, so I'm just going to run a little poll here to get an idea of who's present with us today. And let's see, where's my poll? Right, here we go. We just want to know if you are a current Smart Music user. So there should be a poll showing up on the right side of your screen, and you can let us know if you're a current classic Smart Music user, a current new Smart Music user, or if perhaps you're not yet using it. Great, some of the responses are coming in. Looks like we have 12 people today in the webinar, which is awesome. And almost all of you are finished with the poll, so we're just going to give it about another minute or so, and then we're going to close the poll. Wonderful. So we have just 2 people who haven't answered the question, and that's fine. It looks like the majority of you haven't started using Smart Music yet. And so that's great, because then we can give you some ideas here as to how you could potentially begin using it. So with that in mind, here we go. So just wanted to let you know that we know what your jobs are in the classroom, because both Lee and I come from the field of education. So we know that as music educators, you guys, your main and most important job is to teach students concepts and the music, obviously, but in the concepts that you teach them, you are in charge of teaching them rhythm, note names and reading, obviously, intonation, pulse, dynamics, interpretation, tone, articulation, all of those things. You are also in charge of choosing repertoire that is appropriate to the student's skill level. You have to motivate students and teach them how to practice. You have to differentiate your instruction so that you can reach all the students in that class, those with lesser skills and those with more advanced skills. You also have to report on student progress. Perhaps in your state you have student learning objectives, and you are supposed to report growth throughout time. And then obviously you have to teach instrument pedagogy, and then you have to do much more. So we know what your jobs are, and Smart Music really helps you with some ways in which you can get those jobs accomplished. So today we're just going to present 8 ways in which you can use Smart Music as a classroom teaching tool. And the first, so we're going to present some strategies, and then we're going to go a little bit in depth on each one of those strategies. So one of them, which would address the first job of teaching all those musical concepts, you can do by displaying method book lines or instrument parts on screen and then talking about musical concepts or having students track the beat with their eyes as the music plays, for example. Another use for it would be having an activity where you're doing a rhythm of the day, and then you display a rhythmic exercise on the screen and have students clap or tap or even march to it. You can use SmartMusic as an accompanist during choir rehearsals if you're a choir teacher and don't have advanced piano skills so that you can accompany your own students, for example. You can also use the recordings in SmartMusic as models of exemplary performance. You can demonstrate practice techniques, put the tuner on screen and demonstrate the tuning tendencies for each instrument. Use the composition tool with the smartboard. And since the majority of you are not current SmartMusic users, it'll be good for you to know that the new web-based SmartMusic has a composition tool included in it. It's a tool for the teacher, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't display it on the screen in your classroom and have students collaborate on a composition, for example, which is what we're going to address here. And then lastly, you can always upload your own files. You can use those for exercises, for auditions, for drills, chamber music, anything that you can imagine that you want to work with your students on. You can upload that material and have it at your fingertips to use in class. So let's look at each one of these 8 ways or strategies in a little bit more detail. What you see on the screen right now is a screenshot of a page from a method book that is open inside of SmartMusic. And then from all the arrows, you can see that we're pointing at several different concepts. So you can talk about, for example, in this particular method book line, you can talk about different rhythms because you have eighth notes, quarter notes, half notes, and rests. You can click on any note to show a fingering. You can talk about dynamics. You can talk about time signature, what an ending bar looks like in contrast with a regular bar line, and much more. So I'm going to switch now to a little video that will show you what this looks like in action. So on your screen right now, you should be able to see a video of the SmartMusic online platform where we just clicked on method books. And we have a really big library. And so we're just doing a simple search for a method book like Sound Innovations, for example. But there's about 96 different method books in SmartMusic. And all of them would be available to you with a subscription. So you can just choose from any material that you want. So you pick an instrument part and then a line from the method book. And imagine just displaying that on the screen of your classroom or using the whiteboard. And then you'd have all the students looking at the same thing instead of having to say, look at this measure in your book. So you can address concepts such as dynamics. You can play back the exercise, have the students track with their eyes. So there's a metronome that you can turn on and off. You can turn my part on and off so that they can hear the timbre of their instrument and the intonation. They can visually track the notes, and that's a great help in note reading and all of that. I want to mention something that one of our panelists from last week's webinar brought up when he was discussing his own way of using SmartMusic with students. So his name is Mike Gibson, and he is in the Atlanta area. He's been teaching for 30 some years, grew his band from 97 to 330 kids at a charter school. And he said that with his beginner students, he uses it in classroom every single day with method books. He uses it to have students listen to the accompaniments, listen to my part, clap the rhythms, hum the tonic, the second and the third, or whatever the interval is that they're working on. And he said that this helps students reduce the time spent randomly hitting notes. So it's a great aid. And then he also says that in some occasions he will play students' assessments for the class as models of exemplary performances from peers, and then have the class give critiques about what they heard. So that's a way to use SmartMusic in the classroom. Our next suggested strategy is rhythm of the day. So for rhythm of the day, you can imagine, for example, before your students enter your class, having SmartMusic projected on the screen and having chosen some rhythm exercises that are pertinent to whatever concepts you're working on that day. They may be standalone rhythm exercises. They may be rhythm exercises related to concert repertoire you're working on. Maybe you're introducing a new note value or a new rest. And you have lots of materials to choose from. You can choose from our rhythm exercises category, which looks like what you have on screen. And we have exercises in simple time and in compound time, and there's 3 different levels for each. Or you could choose rhythm exercises that are included in many of the method books that are available in the SmartMusic library. You can also import your own. So if there's none of the rhythm exercises that are included in SmartMusic match the needs that your students have, you can very quickly write your own, both in Finale or Sibelius or any notation program that will export to Music XML and bring them into the new SmartMusic. Or you can use the built-in notation tool called Compose to write them in there and have available and display on the screen. So here's an example of working with rhythm exercises. So again, on your screen, what you see is the home page of SmartMusic, and we've just clicked on exercises. And there's scales, arpeggios, intervals, all of that. So we're gonna just go to rhythms, and we're gonna choose a pattern from simple time. And now there's a way to assess these by clapping. So under the assessment menu, you would just click the clap percussion mode, and then you can clap through the exercise and have SmartMusic give you assessment. So that's how that works, and you could very easily, for example, if you're working in a small group or if you're wanting to assess individual students, you can call them up and have them do it in front of everybody else or privately just for you, just to get an idea, or you can just simply have this as a warm-up exercise as students are coming into your class. A third way to use SmartMusic in class, even if your students don't have subscriptions, let's say that you're a choir teacher and you don't have advanced piano skills, or you do, but you want to step away from behind the piano and be able to walk around in your classroom and listen to individual students as they're singing, or you want to get closer to them to perhaps tell them something about their breathing or their diction or anything like that. Each piece for choir in SmartMusic comes with each one of the individual voice parts and also the piano part. So you could very easily display the piano part on screen and then click the little button to turn my part on so that you'll be hearing the piano, and then hit play and walk away from your instrument and closer to your students. So this is what that looks like. This is an example. So there we started with the accompaniment turned on, and as we start the rehearsal, we just want to hear the piano part. We turn the accompaniment off and turn my part on. Just the piano is on screen, and you can walk around your classroom. So that's another way to use it in the classroom. Here's yet another one, and this applies to choirs, orchestras, bands, even to the elementary music classroom, and it is to use the recordings available in SmartMusic as exemplary performances, right? So I think it's very important to get students listening, right? Because music is about listening and responding to what we're listening, and then communicating non-verbally so that we can all play together. So part of being a good musician is being able to listen. They need a model, whether it's us performing on our instrument or singing for them. But then in addition to that, they also need to listen to great ensembles perform the pieces that they're working on and other music as well. This helps them understand how to do the right phrasing, how to perform the right articulations or what they sound like, and get the tone that we're looking for in their ears. So once they have that mental image of what the sound they need to get is, then they're better able to emulate it. Also, listening to great performances of the pieces that they're working on gives students a better idea of how their own individual part fits in the whole. So things that you can do include displaying different instrument parts to discuss performance, musical or technical elements of that individual part. You can turn that my part on so that they can hear the timbre of their instrument and how that melody line goes or how that counter melody line goes. So you can isolate the part while at the same time listening in context. And then also you can use the music on screen to discuss the form. So whether you're in a band, in a choir, in an orchestra setting, or even in the elementary music classroom, you can talk about these things by displaying the music on screen. So here's an example of a performance inside of SmartMusic. This is a piece for band. And these performances that we have in the music that is part of the SmartMusic catalog are the recordings that publishers have given to us. So in many cases, well, most cases or in all cases, they're professional bands and professional orchestras and professional choirs, and you know, the exemplary recordings that the publishers attach to those pieces. So remember to chat any questions that you may have to me, and I will try to address them as we go or towards the end of the webinar. Let's see, I have one in here asking, can you upload any music score to have the piano accompaniment played? When you upload music, and by the way, we had a previous webinar that is archived on the SmartMusic YouTube channel, and it's all about bringing in your own content to SmartMusic. So I'd invite you to take a look at that one for more detailed information. But basically, when you import any music into the new SmartMusic, you're bringing in a score. So if your score has the piano part in there and you label it correctly, then that's one of the parts that you have available to display on screen and have it play back. Okay? Another question here is, how do you get new compositions into new SmartMusic? Example, new pieces from J.W. Pepper. So to enter pieces that are part of the catalog, I think that's the question that you may be asking. How does SmartMusic add new music to its catalog? I'm going to share my screen here and show you on our website where you can request that we add new music to the catalog. I'm just going to go to our website, which is www.smartmusic.com. And in there, if you go scroll down to about the middle of the page, you're going to see this gray bar that says Explore the SmartMusic Library. Search for something first. So let's say Symphony number 9, and it's going to return the titles that we have available with the keyword that you entered. If what you're looking for is not displayed on that list, down here it'll say request the title. So click there and then let us know what it is that you're looking for, the title, the arranger, the composer, and the publisher, and then whether it's an ensemble, a solo, or a method book, and that will go into a database of title requests. And then we work with a large number of publishers, and it all depends on what relationships we have with them, if they'll give us the license, and then the time it takes to develop each title. I think that was part A of that question. Now, if you're asking about how you bring in your own arrangements or your own materials that you create into the new SmartMusic, again, if we have some time towards the end of the webinar, I can show you a little bit of that live. Otherwise, I invite you to check out the webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago, titled Create Your Own Content for SmartMusic. And that's in our YouTube channel. Okay, demonstrate practice techniques. And this is one of my favorite ones, right? Because SmartMusic is a great tool for student practice. It's wonderful if the students have subscriptions, because then they can take full advantage of everything that SmartMusic has to offer. But even if that is not the case and you just have the teacher subscription, this is such a powerful tool for visually demonstrating what good practice looks like. Okay, so we all know as musicians, because we went to school and we got really proficient at our instruments, and our private teachers told us how to do this. We know that we have to slow down. We know that we have to use repetition loops. We know that we have to chunk small sections of the music and work on that to solve the problem, and then expand to the larger context. We know that we get to performance tempo by gradually increasing the practice tempo, not just by starting at performance tempo all at once. And we tell this to our students, but how much more powerful is it if we both demo it on our instrument, and then we also have a visual aid to show them what that looks like. And so you can do this. Obviously, you can talk about all these concepts and just use a traditional metronome, whether it's a digital one or a pendulum type. But it's so much more powerful when you have a visual aid that is actually showing the students what that slow practice looks like. So this next video addresses that. So we're going to look at a solo. This is for clarinet. We have a large library of solos as well. This applies to large ensemble content, to solos, to method books, to anything that you want your students to practice. And so in here, you're going to see the tempo performance using the built-in sounds in SmartMusic, and then we're going to look at how to slow down and also how to create those repetition loops. All right, so that demonstrates how you can use that loop function as well as slow the music down to half the initial tempo or faster. But the upper and lower limits of how much you can stretch that tempo are about half the speed and twice the speed. Can't really go beyond that. Okay, so next we have the tuner. So in SmartMusic, whenever you have music on screen, there's a tab there that will say assessment, and from that assessment tab you have access to a tuner that you can put on screen. As you can see, it has a green area, a yellow area, and a red area so that you have that visual feedback of how in tune you are or how far from the center of the pitch you are. If you play a transposing instrument, you're going to see both the concert pitch and the transposed pitch. And this is a great tool to use in class to visualize the tuning tendencies for each instrument. So when I was teaching orchestra, I was a classic SmartMusic user, which also had a tuner that you could put on screen, and I would sometimes tie one of those SmartMusic microphones to a broomstick and then extend that broomstick either from the podium or walk around in the classroom and place that microphone really close to a student to help them with the tuning, and then I'd have the tuner on screen and they could see if that needle was moving to the right or to the left, and we'd play this move the needle game. There's also on our YouTube channel, we have a testimonial from a teacher in Colorado. His name is Dan Pinkston, and he does basically the same thing with his band and made an analogy of how tuning is like a pencil sharpener. So you'd put the tuner on screen and then talk about how you push if you're flat, and you push in it when you're flat and you pull out if you're sharp. And all of that with a tuner on screen. So that's yet another use in the classroom. The next is uploading your own content. So from the home page, there's a little deck that will say my recently uploaded content, and let me show you that in context by sharing my screen. So on the home page of the web-based SmartMusic, when I scroll all the way down to the bottom, right here where it says uploaded music, if I click upload new music, I'm going to be taken through a series of screens that have me build a book so I can upload my own content. And so that looks like this. You click on that button and then you get to the screen where you label your music, sort of create a book, because that gives you the ability to have several different movements in there if you choose. And then you can either drag and drop a score that you have created in a music notation software, or you can use the built-in notation tool inside of SmartMusic. So the sky's the limit for this, because you can bring anything that you want and then again use it in class by displaying it on the screen with your students. And now there's using the composition tool. This is really, really cool. It's exclusive to the new SmartMusic. It's available for teachers only. So if you were using the educator subscription, you would have access to this. Think of projecting a composition tool on the screen. If you have a smartboard, even better, because then you can have the students come up to the board and kinesthetically move notes around and hear them sound and then play back. And so think about working on composition and collaboration, for example, as a classroom activity, right? Or you could, for example, if students are learning note names, you could have them write words on the staff like face, F-A-C-E. So think of that as a tool. And to that extent, I'm going to play here a little video from a teaching assistant in Colorado who is talking about just that with her secondary instrument class. So let's listen. This is Megan Ogden. Let's listen to her.
I can upload a score, which is what I've done with all my previous arrangements, as long as they're in the formats listed here. Or, in this beta version, you can create a score. It has a compose feature in it. Woo! Which is very exciting. We're going to do a quick creation. A quick creation. So here it looks like Finale, because SmartMusic and Finale are from the Make Music company. They're under the same umbrella. So it looks, acts, feels like Finale if you're familiar with that program. And here is where you can start creating your arrangement. So your options will be create it in the Compose tool or create it in Finale, Sibelius, whatever, upload it into SmartMusic. But it's a really cool feature that going forward as the beta is published and it's good to go to use in your classroom. Especially if you have a smartboard. Composing on a smartboard is awesome because they drag and drop. They listen back and they're like, you know what, I don't like that. And they manipulate it kinesthetically in real life and change it to be what they want it to be. And composition isn't that stuffy thing anymore. It's right there. It's just fun. It's like almost like a game because it's like, what notes can I put together that sound great?
Bit of what that notation tool looks like. So in this video, we are going to see what entering some notes in the Compose tool looks like. Okay, so when we click that upload your own music, there's two choices: importing your own score or creating it inside of SmartMusic. So what you're going to see here is that we're creating our own music inside of SmartMusic with the Compose tool. There's the ability to make a quick creation or use one of the templates. And so in this video, we're creating a beginning band template. You enter the title, the number of measures, the time signature and key signature, and then your score pops right in front of you. And then basically here we're just pointing and clicking the notes in. So you just select your note value and click it in. You can use some shortcuts to change those note values. Again, if you want to learn more about that, we have a whole webinar on creating your own content inside of SmartMusic. And that's basically what it looks like. Then you can also add dynamics and articulations and all of that by clicking and dragging. And there are some shortcuts for that as well. But in terms of using it in class and coming back to that kinesthetic aspect, since you can just click and drag, imagine your students coming up to the smartboard if you have one and just tapping on something and then dragging it in the score, and everybody else, all the other students watching and collaborating, and then you can play things back, and it's a great experience. So you can do all of that in your classroom for just $40 a year. That's what the educator subscription costs. You have access to the entire SmartMusic library, and you have access to all the method books, and you have access to the Compose tool, which allows you to create all of this content. I'm getting to the end of the strategies that I wanted to share, and I want to hear from you and see if you have any questions. Do you have any recommendation for pitch matching for beginning singers? So yes, we have a lot of sight singing method books in there that are available that you can use to address pitch matching, for example. There, you also have the ability, when you import your own files, you could create some exercises where you hide the note heads, but the sounds play, and you can do call and response. So you have one measure where you have some pitches, and then the next measure where the student has to respond to them and try to match. Let's see. Will this program grade a playing test for you? Oh yes, it will. So earlier on, I showed a video of Rhythm of the Day where we clapped through an exercise, and in that exercise you could see how the notes were turning green as they were clapped at the right time. So the same thing happens with pitches. If you do a regular assessment, you play the pitches, and if you play them correctly and in time, the notes turn green, and if you make mistakes, they turn red. So I'm happy to show that video again so that you can get an idea of what that looks like. So that shows you how we're clapping and the notes are being assessed as being on time. If you're playing, if you're playing pitches, the same thing happens. I'd have to find a video to show you that, because if I do it live, you're not necessarily going to have the best experience, but it does the same thing. Let's see, for choir, our vocal parts sung. So, yes, so the choir titles will have a recording with them where you will hear, some of them have the voices singing the lyrics and some of them won't. It just depends on what kind of recording the publisher gave us. But even when the choir is not singing the actual lyrics, you can click my part and hear those pitches being sung, being played by a piano sound rather. Another question is, so does that turn the assessment into a numerical grade? So going back to assessment, yes, the assessment will not only give students that red and green note feedback, but also there will be a numerical score. It's a percentage. And so I'm just going to go forward a little bit on this video to the very end and see if I can show you where that score shows up. Okay, so right there on your screen, I'm going to pause it. If you look at the upper left corner of your screen, right below where the word SmartMusic is, that might be a little bit blurry for you. It says 1, as in like take number 1, 82 BPMs, which is the tempo, and then it says 96%, because all the notes were green except for the first one that was red. So yes, it turns it into a grade. Not just that, but also there's a grade book. So I'm just going to go back to my SmartMusic here on the web and just show you what that grade book looks like. So if you were using it with students, you can schedule assignments to them, and then those assignments come in and you have a grade book, and when you click on any of the submissions, you can see the red and green note assessment. You can hear it back by clicking this button, and then you can also add additional comments. So we have another webinar that addressed that. It's archived on our YouTube channel, but yeah, you can do all of that with SmartMusic. What is the best way to teach students how to use SmartMusic? Well, I would begin by using it in the classroom, okay? Using it in the classroom so they have lots of opportunities to see you model how it works, okay? And have them come up to the board, eventually have them come up and use the controls for you. So have like a class assistant where they come in and they're the drivers of SmartMusic. And after they've had enough opportunities seeing it in class, understanding how it works, then you can create classes and you can enroll your students in those classes by sharing a class code. We have a lot of available help for you, from our webinar series to detailed videos on the YouTube channel, as well as a dedicated help center that is accessible from within SmartMusic. And let me show you how to get to that. So if you're in SmartMusic, anywhere you are, you see this little question mark right here. If you click on that and then go to the help center, you're gonna find all the help that you need. We have lots of articles for students and we have all the articles for educators as well. They are detailed with instructions and screenshots that walk you through all the things that you need to know to get started. So also you can write us at training@makemusic.com. That's training@makemusic.com, and we do webinars and we do in-person paid training, and we can provide you a little bit more guidance. Okay, it looks like I have answered all the questions that you guys have put in the chat window. Are there any more? Okay, so while you guys think about it, just know that you can do all the things that we talked about in here for $40 a year for the teacher subscription. If you're interested in student subscriptions, they start at $4 per student per year. That's the Method Books tier. And then $8 per student per year, where students have access to anything that you assign. And then $12 per student per year, where students have access to everything and anything. If you haven't tried SmartMusic yet and you're interested in a free trial, we are also currently running a giveaway. So if you go to smartmusic.com/Chromebook-giveaway, you can be entered for the chance to win one of, I think it's 20 free Chromebooks. And so if you sign up before June 30th for a free trial, you have the opportunity to explore SmartMusic and also be entered for a chance to win a Chromebook. Additionally, if you go to that URL, the page looks like this. Additionally, if you want to add Finale to your toolbox, we are also running a promotion where if you have SmartMusic, if you buy the $40 SmartMusic subscription for the educator, you can unlock a wonderful discount for Finale. So you can do an upgrade for $79, which is regularly $149. You can trade up for just $99. It's usually $200. Or you can purchase Finale altogether if you've never had it for $149, when the regular academic price is $350. So this is a great deal if you're interested in adding Finale to your toolbox. You just need to contact sales@makemusic.com and use the promo code STARTCREATING in the email that you send to them, okay? The promo code is STARTCREATING. Someone is asking in here, how long is the trial? So that person must have been referring to the free trial here. I believe free trials are 30 days. So just go to the URL on screen if you're interested in the trial, and I'm sure all the details are explained in here. You'll have to contact sales anyway for them to set the trial for you, so they'll let you know. Okay, take advantage of this promotion if you're interested. Know that our webinars are all posted on the SmartMusic YouTube channel. We're going to do the same with this one. It's being recorded right now. I'll edit it tomorrow, and then you will receive an email with a link to the recording. So if you want to watch it again later, you can do it at your leisure, and then know that the previous ones are all archived in the SmartMusic YouTube channel. And then also, obviously, we're on all social media channels. So if you want to reach us, don't hesitate to write us. We're on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and many others. So are there any additional questions? Okay, I guess not. So thank you so much for your time and your questions today. I hope that you have a wonderful end to your school year. We're going to have another webinar next week. You'll get the email and you can decide if you're interested in joining us. So with that, I'll just bid you farewell. Thank you so much for joining today and have a good evening.